and with a bit of help, they are carried inside into a living room of sorts. This house is not exactly in a state of, well, you couldn't sell this house to anyone.
Fixer-upper.
Yeah, you could probably get paid to take this off the hands of the city. But he's like, well, it's a roof, I guess. Just set him down on the couch, I suppose.
At this point, any shelter is good shelter.
After the other two sit down and what chairs they can pull up, and they're exhausted. They look like they've been going on without sleep for a while. One of them almost appears passed out at this point after just sitting down. The guy in the passenger seat, so, what actually have we gotten ourselves into?
That's a big topic. So, from what I've been able to piece together, your mileage may vary, is that this world has been pieced together, and so has the population, but not individually pieced together, but just as a whole from different places.
I'd say that sounds insane, but I know that's quite within the realm of possibility, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, you can take it or leave it as you wish, believe me or not. But I suspect that the more you wander around, the more you'll come to see it.
He kind of looks at the floor, is like, so none of what we know is here.
I don't know what it is that you know, but it's a safe bet that it's not.
I was just kind of thinking, man, oh God, I hope that back pay can keep the bills off the rest of the family. I don't think we'll ever see him again, huh?
Who knows? Odds aren't good from what I've seen.
With that, he kind of goes silent and almost seems too worried to sleep, even though he looks exhausted. He just sort of stares off out a window. Well, you're more than welcome to stick around, I guess, but I don't know what we're gonna do.
Well, I'm tied to sticking around at this moment because if I leave without your friend getting some serious medical help, he's probably going to die.
At this point, does it really matter?
Yes.
We've lost our families, our jobs are gone now, all our friends are gone, our colleagues are dead. I've seen too many of them die this week.
And you have life.
What's one more? Yeah, life For what?
It's not the life you expected, perhaps, but it is life.
Sort of shakes his head and almost in just I don't agree with you, and kind of tries to almost curl up on this chair, trying to maybe sleep.
Druel, leave him alone. And probably also sleep himself at some point pretty soon. Just
Fair enough.
sitting there with his own thoughts tied to this guy.
Then at this point, we will jump back to Tullus and Cherry. Tullus has rejoined the others at this point. Cherry's leg probably still is, on fire. Not literally on fire, but
has a hole shot through it.
Tullus is gonna make his way over to Cherry and kind of kneel down, and he's gonna say, I'm gonna be brief about this. I don't know what your ordeal with these people are. I don't really care either. Now, if I were a betting man, which I'm not usually, they were able to save that person. I don't know what your beef with them is. I don't care, once again. But they were able to save her, and then she stated something protocol, something B. Do you know what that means?
There could be a large number of protocol codes that could mean, however the most likely given the situation, and would be the one pertaining to Prometheans in code 7B. Cherry would just know this. I don't think she needs to roll for this, right?
This is sure on, like,
yeah.
You would know.
Alright, so no idea what the hell a Promethean is, nor do I care. Unfortunately, my motorbike can only carry 2 people, myself and one other. There is an extensive amount more than 2 now. When it was me and Stahl, it wasn't an issue. Now I have me, Stahl, you, that girl over there, and then that guy down there.
At mentioning this, the guy's kind of like, so you're gonna take me with you? You're not just gonna... You took her back, but you're not gonna let me go back?
I look back, I don't say anything to him, and I look over at Cherry, and I'm just like... Clearly, they have some beef, or that lady has some beef with you. Do you want him to go back, or do you want him to come with us? I'll leave that decision on you.
She looks over to him processing, and at this point, him not being with the conspiracy would be of minor value, and at this point, any information that he has would be also held by Dorothy. It would be best at this point, returning him would not be able to would not significantly harm me, and it's probably best in practicality's sake, as well as likely better in general, in a more moral sense.
Tullus kind of nods, stands up, and he goes, okay.
This bitch is just a random grunt. She's like, this man isn't going to mean anything.
He goes, well, this person here says you can go. I had no ill will towards you. I just wanted to make sure you weren't going to shoot us in the back after all this was over. So, at this point, Tullus is just going to release him and tell him to get the hell out of here.
As soon as you undo the restraints, he bolts off. Like,
Does he even bolt off in the right direction, or is he just...
he does.
Okay.
He's like, all right, I'm all power to the legs. We're leaving before they change their mind.
All right, so now, unfortunately, I think Stahl and that other girl over there should probably continue on foot. I don't think you should be walking on that leg.
Cherry thinks.
Because I've only got I can only fit one other person on that bike. That's just, there's no way I'm getting anybody else on that bike. And considerably, especially with your leg, they're going to be able to move faster on foot than you could, period.
How is Cherry gonna argue this? Because she is gonna argue this. It would not. At this point, the person they are looking for. At this point, they are looking for a Promethean. In as she looks over to Stahl. Likely you fit the description, though not immediately. They have some methods of determining such and beyond that, and it would be best if beyond that, it would be best if there is some. Actually, Cherry thinks.
Tallis just kind of shakes his head. Even if they're looking for whatever he happens to be, which once again I don't care, he is quite capable of handling himself. While I do know for a fact they are looking for you, that lady made that very clear, and you're the one hobbled. He can still run if necessary. Once again, all signs says you get on that motorbike and we get out of here, and we meet up with these two at a designated location. Designated locations here are a little bit tricky, however.
She would sigh and look over to Stahl. Oh, I wish Stahl was here so I could do this to him specifically. But she would look over to Stahl and say, hey, are you willing to fully protect Rose?
I mean, I can't answer for Stahl, but for the sake of story continuing, we're gonna say Tallis probably has some authority over him, and he told him to.
Tallis turns around and goes, underneath the authority given to me by my father, your bodyguard role now applies to her for this time being.
Cherry would nod. Understood. There. It is at this point. It would at this point, I suppose, be best if I came with you.
All right. We're now. Tullis is going to help Cherry move over to the motorcycle and get her situated before getting himself on. Now, he's going to say, all right, so you met my father earlier today, Vitus. I'm assuming you're one of the group that he has told me to reconnect with.
I would presume so, though admittedly I only met him for a short time. I had met him, and I suppose that would make sense.
All right. So, he kind of starts the motorcycle and slowly begins to move it, as he continues to talk. there were more people. I need to try and find the, I think, other two. And he seems like he's doubting his words, or, you know, maybe he wasn't given all the information he might need.
Likely the two were a sin eater by the name of. No, she would say they're likely the two were bound by the name of Drew and a man in furs by the name of Kalmir.
All right. Any sort of direction, anything I can get, because I'm driving blind, honestly.
If I was to guess, it would be one of them was likely heading closer to the city. He attempting to find shelter, although I believe that area would be a poor decision at this point. I mean, though admittedly the other one likely went towards the large noise, which is also likely a worrying prospect.
All right. Well, with that, Tullus is just gonna flip a coin, so to speak, in his head and start heading towards the direction that the explosion came from. He's not, and while he's on his motorcycle, he's not trying to like win any world records in speed or anything like that, because he knows that he doesn't want to get too far away from the other two. And that is definitely information that he would want to try and pass on to them before officially leaving.
Oh, are we telling them to meet us there where we're going?
Yes, essentially.
Okay.
Just to try and prevent people from this party from splitting to hell and back even more.
Yeah.
What do you mean? That's part of the fun.
We're going to another continent.
There only is one.
Oh.
That's good information. But yes, so
Oh no.
Write it down, right?
I do let Stahl and I guess Rose know the direction we're heading before really taking off.
Chair would ask you a question, actually. I have a small question. And you mentioned that your name was Titus Ventru Giovanni?
Tullus.
Tullus, yeah. She would say it correctly. Yeah, I'm sorry. Ventru isn't it? Ventru is a term I recognize, so I do not know if it is relevant in this case. And would otherwise be an odd name where I am from.
It's a it's a bloodline name. Or, well, family name. Depending on how you look at it, sometimes family and bloodline names in our culture get a little wonky.
Is it not the name of a vampire clan?
He considers his answer and he goes, vampires. We have records in our grand libraries about that. Possibly. Actually, I'm pretty sure it is, but he kind of shrugs.
Cherry does not have the empathy required to possibly beat that. So yeah, beat that lie. So you know. Oh.
Again, I didn't lie. I admitted it was a vampire thing.
Yeah, no.
Roman.
I did state it was vampire as well, though.
Yeah.
No, I meant because different history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have a small question.
Another one?
Yes, I am so. Yes, I apologize for questioning it. It is just in the current place. There's no better time. There's no better time to do so. Oh, and it's best to understand who one is working with. Yes. You mentioned that you were part of a military. Which military would that be part of?
The Roman army. I'm rank Centurion.
Understood. But she would pause. There was a poignant pause there. Understood. But notices the motorcycle, the everything, and she's just gonna be like, there's something here. But you know, this doesn't feel like my place to say right now. Oh.
What about you? Where are you from? And obviously this conversation's happening as, you know, I'm driving.
No, you pulled over the vehicle to have this conversation.
Hey,
Yes,
motorcycles are loud, so I mean, maybe.
I can't talk and drive at the same time. What is this?
Equally, it was probably equally, and you would likely not have heard of it less due to obscurity and more due to the world, the place that we seem to be in. But I am from, I believe the name of the general nation would be the United States of America.
Shakes his head. Nope, never heard of that.
That is understandable. I believe we are from different timelines, or at least different times.
So we're talking multiverse theory here or something?
It is difficult to call it a theory at this point. Given the well, I suppose at this point it's become I suppose at this point theory changes its meaning to more similar, or to the theory of gravity than anything else. Also, given the fact that I have met at least three people who have not. I have met many people who seem to directly have memories that contradict the known reality. So I suppose it is not known to everyone at this point.
Or there's multiple different known realities. I think that would probably be the more correct verbiage.
Within my universe. Which calendar do you use? She would pause for a moment.
There's only one calendar.
Julian, okay. Hey.
He kind of shrugs.
Hey, she would pauses for a moment. Julian, okay. Hey, the most correct. It would be correct. It would be accurate to assess. It would be accurate to assess that the Roman Empire, that within my own timeline, the Roman Empire fell in. What's the date that it fell?
Define what do you define as the Roman Empire?
It's
East Rome or West Rome?
well, the common date is 476, but
the common date given for the fall of the Roman Empire is 476.
I would recommend that this is not a subject that I am comfortable with.
Understandable. I will refrain from it in future.
Roma Invictus. If you're not aware of what that translates to, Rome undefeated, Rome invincible.
I am aware of the concept. I am aware of the term Rome Invictus. Indeed. I apologize.
Lord. But yeah, I hate to interrupt your heartfelt discussion here, but
No, the plot is fine.
yeah, so as you guys continue to drive, it becomes very apparent that all of a sudden you're now in a torrential downpour. The clouds were not there 5 seconds ago, and now you're in a torrential downpour.
Wonderful.
And there's an earthquake.
I feel like that would come up first.
I feel like we're getting bumped on right now.
Okay, potentially. That's what we're going to jump back to Kalmir.
So wait, does that call for like a drive roll?
It's not that intense of an earthquake.
Well, it's in the rain too, slippery.
I don't know. Maybe is it a driver?
I don't know.
He's not rushing, so I don't think so.
Fair enough.
So.
In the 4 range of magnitude or less, not really.
Yeah. Kalmir,
It wasn't me. I didn't do that.
poking this body with your spear, when all of a sudden it jolts up, and there's the earthquake and the rain. As this barn is, this barn's collapsing.
Well, I don't want to be inside when it's collapsing. I'm going to grab him and pull him outside.
They resist.
Well, then they're staying and gonna die, so I'm going out by myself then. I ain't standing in there to get logs falling on me.
Okay. The outside is a torrential downpour and the ground shakes.
That was quick. That's strange. Is there forces magic at work? Weather magic?
By definition, not awakened magic.
But it is obviously
It is obviously not, raining
Normal.
naturally.
because were there clouds when I went into this barn?
Not really. No.
Not really?
It was-
I believe
No,
peripheral mage sight lets you tell magic even if it's not arcana, if it's actively happening at you.
If it's like a supernatural thing.
Yes, if it's a very active thing and it falls under your thing.
Then, I mean,
Only active
it
supernatural
is very
things.
actively supernatural. I mean, it doesn't
Your
take
peripheral-
mage sight to see that.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm gonna yell back in the barn, hey! Did you call the rain? I assume that guy's still in there.
You don't get a reply.
Go up to the opening, look inside. Is he still there?
They're there. They've stood up and are kind of like back pressed against a wall, trying to figure out what's going on.
Hey! Did you call the rain just now?
They can. I mean, they can only probably barely hear you over the rain. But
Well,
yeah, I mean, you're yelling. Okay. But they turn to you and they're kind of like, what?
it wasn't raining before you woke up. Did you call the rain?
I woke up. They kind of pause on that and
Well, you were lying there, not moving or breathing. And then suddenly you shot up, and then the rain came and the earth shook. Seems kind of obvious that it's something you did.
they seem to be thinking through this. And sort of back themselves into a somewhat still standing corner of where the roof is out of the rain.
Well, I mean, rain is nice, but we don't need the rain right now. If you don't call the rain off, I'll have to call the rain off.
They seem lost in their own thought.
I'll come back to you then. So I'm gonna go outside I'm gonna cast Control Weather. Turn off the rain. Now, since this is
Yeah, so what are the rules for using magic to cancel a supernatural effect? It's a clash of wills, right?
it seems like it would be. Yeah.
Okay, is this a firestorm or is this something different? Hold on.
It's just wasteland. Very high wasteland.
Okay, let's look at wasteland. Uncontrolled.
I reckon I would use the creator's Azov as the clash of wills thing. So, hold on, let me go to Mage.
Yeah.
Which one is Control Weather under? Forces?
Forces.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 forces.
Control Weather.
The amazing funniness of combining different splats.
It's pain.
I think
Alright.
I think it might just work, but like you're only affecting the surface effect of the wasteland. You're not affecting the greater wasteland, the fact that it is a wasteland, which causes other problems.
Yeah, you could probably turn it off temporarily.
Yeah.
But
I'm looking at the player's guide to the Contagion Chronicle, right?
Okay. So, I mean, even temporarily would work.
So yeah, give me the roll and whatever your duration will be.
All right. So Control Weather. Duration.
Yeah, it'll depend how much you get. A free movement up the chart 1 because you have how many forces do you have actually?
3.
Okay, then you get 2. If I'm remembering correctly.
So will I get 2 free reaches?
Yeah, so
And-
standard you could move it up to 3 turns, or you could change it to advanced duration with a reach and move it up to a week.
That would probably be the better option because, 3
Yeah,
turns is
so-
like less than 10 seconds.
Yeah, so it would basically be one one reach to instacast, 1 reach to move it to advanced.
Okay, so we'll do that. So it won't be raining here for a week. I mean, there's no crop anyway, so it doesn't matter. So, forces. Gnosis. Ooh, 3 successes. Not matter, only need 1.
Yeah, I don't think potency matters for that spell.
No, it only matters if... Well, successes only matters if you get an exceptional. Then you can get a bonus. Other than that, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay. The rain turns off.
Rain turns off. Is it still shaking, though?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's just a little wobbly. It's not-
Earthquakes, unfortunately, are not weathered.
Yeah, that's something else. Still technically under forces, but that's a different spell that I don't feel like casting right now. Yeah, because it's not loud. So I'm gonna go back inside the barn. What's he doing? Is he still standing, huddled in the corner?
Sitting, huddled in the corner, but yeah.
Okay, so I took care of the rain, but it's still shaking. Is that you too? Do you have a name?
Don't know.
You don't know your name? Oh. Metagame, but oh.
What, have you only just figured out what it is?
No, I knew what it was, but that it was brand new.
I mean, I said in the chat.
Yeah, no, Mr. Kushalm or whatever has replaced the death of one Promethean with another.
Huh.
Continue.
Yes. So you don't have a name. So what? I don't know what I should call you. I am Kalmir, Stormcaller from my village. But what would you like me to refer to you as?
It sort of thinks for a little bit, and I don't remember, but it was... It seems noticeably kind of like it's straining. It's, it's like you get to that section of the exam and you're like, oh god, no. Like, oh.
Okay. Well, you probably shouldn't stay in here, because I feel like eventually this thing is gonna fall down on your head, which is not good for you. So why don't you come out of there? And we'll figure something out.
It slowly stands up and sort of, well, walks to the center of the room and just starts looking around and picking things up. Just looking at them.
Would Kalmir get the same feeling from this guy that he got from Stahl, who he met earlier and looked at with Mage Sight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same feeling, but Stahl knew what was going on.
Right. So you're... Feels like you just got here, but I met someone kind of like you not long ago, but he seemed to have all of his faculties in order.
I think.
Well, anyways, as I've said, the ground is shaking. Please come out of there.
And it does sort of now realize the urgency of things kind of breaking around it, and it does put some purpose in its steps as it kind of, admittedly, it just jogs out of the building. It doesn't seem to have a... I mean, I guess it's urgent, but it goes from standing there to running.
Okay. Is he just gonna keep running and running? Or is he gonna stop?
He keeps running.
I assume he's running back the way we came, or I came.
Roughly. He's running south, roughly.
Wait, where are you going? Why are you running that way? Did you remember you have someplace to be?
It's running. It honestly probably didn't hear you. It's temporarily jumping back to the other two. This... What are you mouthing down there?
Nothing. I'm being a good player.
I've done something wrong, but you're not going to tell me till afterwards. Okay, so the actually, how big is the spell's effect? Does it just turn off the
That's a good question. It's basically...
I'd assume it affects an entire storm.
I would assume. Like, it wouldn't affect, 1 5-foot square.
It's just the potency determines the maximum amount by which an extreme environment can change.
Yeah, well, the first sentence, the mage can control existing weather patterns.
I'm just going to say it turns off the baseline storm. But yeah, so this storm comes out of nowhere for a minute before it vanishes again, as quickly as it came. Ground is still shaking, however.
I'm already tired of this place's weather.
I
But
believe we
go ahead.
Tuesday. Give him what he said. I believe this means we are getting closer.
Tellus kind of shrugs and then he revs the motor a little bit and gives it a bit more gas to try and close whatever distance.
Okay. Kalmir, this person has taken running off into the woods.
Well,
And you can hear the slow approach of an engine.
same direction?
Not the same direction, technically both south, but one is off.
One's into the forest, one ran into the forest, one, I assume there's a road.
Yeah, one appears to be down the road that you can see in the distance. The other is just, he, from the door, took off straight.
Well, he probably won't get far. He'll probably get lost in the forest. I'll run along the road. Maybe whoever's bringing this other noise can help. Maybe they know something. Maybe this is their farmland.
If it is, they're not going to be very happy.
Nope.
So shortly after you put your foot on the gas, Tollus, you could see, if you didn't know any better, a ball of fur run off a side road onto the main road. A person covered in fur, not like a wolf fur, but you know.
Cherry did describe Kalmir as a man cloaked in furs.
Yeah, Cherry would recognize this strange garb.
I believe this is one of the people we are looking for.
And Kalmir would see the strange metal donkey they're riding.
Is it Harley?
Yes. It's always a Harley whenever I have motorcycles. Probably not called a Harley though, but just for simplicity's
Harley
sake.
World Felt. Okay.
Harley Robinson.
But I'm gonna bring it to a stop and kind of circle back around and park beside Kalmir. So, looks like you're duckling number 3.
Duckling. I've never been called a duckling before. Is that an insult?
No.
They're referring to you as a group of people we need to collect. Well, they need to collect, I suppose.
Oh. I thought... He looks at Cherry. I thought you went back somewhere.
I was intending to.
Oh. Well, strange man just woke up in that barn and started running down into that forest. He reminded me a lot of the one who was with you. What was it? Stahl was his name.
Yeah. Can you give greater description?
I gave them a description of the guy because I didn't ask for a description of the guy.
Just like a physical description is what you give?
Yeah.
He didn't have anything else. I mean, I guess he could talk about the supernal bit, but he's a wizard. He doesn't talk about magic to non-wizards.
Well, he can
Do
because
you? It's different because you're wise.
yeah, because their magic is not hidden during his time. But how do I describe a Promethean? He was like that other person, Stahl. He was dead but not dead.
I believe he was another Promethean. They were another Promethean, and likely.
Seemed to be a storm caller too. He brought rain. I had to turn it off, although it's still shaking.
That makes sense. And I suppose I was processing. Cherry has now fully processed as to what has now fully processed as that Kalmir can in fact do magic.
Tullus is just rubbing his forehead like he's getting a headache. He's like, oh, I mean, is this? I'm assuming you just met this person, so this isn't somebody that I know about or I have been informed about. So I'm failing to make a connection of why I should care. If nothing else, I kind of gesture back to Cherry. If nothing else, if they run in the right direction, they're going to hit that convoy that we were just at, and well, our situation with worrying about Stahl is solved because, well,
because there's the other Promethean.
I suppose, though, admittedly, I do worry about their well-being, especially if they enter Charon territory. But at this point, I do not know. At this point, I do not have a better course of action.
The man didn't even know his own name.
That implies many concerning things. That implies many concerning things.
I mean, amnesia's a thing. Tullus kind of shrugs.
I severely doubt that this was amnesia. Do you know what a... No, you do not know what a Promethean is. A Promethean is a type of being that is effectively an artificial human and created in some purpose, created in some way, to emulate, created in some way, that intends to become human and is usually born with some form of inherent knowledge about the world, though that is not universal.
Are they
fascinating? You can tell.
Are they made by flying people made of fire?
Okay.
Processing.
Tullus kind of raises his hand and goes, okay. One, what herbs have you been smoking? Or have you been taking little capsules?
I doubt that he is smoking anything. What he likely saw was a Quashal, which likely did not create the Promethean, but at the same time, I wonder why you were led to the Promethean. She wouldn't have the tone of voice. There are many questions here I do not have the answers to.
Well, get used to that. That's kind of the world at large. You don't have the answers to many questions in the world. Now, I need to collect one more of you. And he kind of just looks down at his motorcycle and he goes, you know, there are days that I wish I drove a car, but I do not. And he kind of looks at Kalmir and he goes, "You're tired, aren't you? Noticing a few bags underneath your eyes."
It's been a long night and day. I mean, I could take care of it, but I'm fine for now.
Cherry processes his Cherry's just gonna say this. You've implied that you were a mage of some variety. What? Are you aware of the term Arcana?
Yes. Who isn't?
Tullus raises his hand.
Arcana refer to the five.
Do you not have wise in your village?
We have philosophers and seers, and
they're referring to what is modernly known as either an awakened or a mage.
Awakened, I like that term. That makes sense.
Tullus just kind of shakes his head.
I apologize. This is not as much common knowledge as it was where I come from. A mage I have no idea. She tries to process this. This is difficult to explain. This is difficult to explain succinctly within our time frame. In essence, they are a group of people who saw some truth, who saw the truth in the world, and can perform miracles.
Okay, so seer, got it. Okay. So, do you happen to know where the other guy went? He turns back to look at Cherry. You called him Drew.
Yes, it's like
He got in one of those large traveling things.
Do you have a way to find him?
Do I have a way to find him? That's a good question.
Do you have space?
I have some space, yeah.
I don't know if that would help you, but
Let me check.
I'm trying to think.
I only have one dot though.
Yeah, basic stuff.
I'm trying to think. Would Cherry?
Because my orders were to get everybody together to start working on something that my father had in mind, and
Would Cherry be able? So like Cherry would be aware of the direction they went and how to get back there, but like she wouldn't have like a good idea of specifically where they went besides along the road.
yeah.
They went. She would give like they went along. She would like give a description of the road. They went along that road, though they are likely significantly far gone from there at this point.
Any luck?
No, I have not spent enough time with him to develop many sympathetic links
Fair enough.
strong enough.
As everybody kind of tries to figure out how they're going to find him, we'll pick up with that next week.
Okay.
All right.
So
I feel bad. I feel bad for Stahl. I put him on protect the mortal duty. You know, the mortal's good at what they do. They're not that bad. They're better
getting
than
paid, he
Sherry,
doesn't mind.
frankly.
But he's getting paid enough.
Hey,
He doesn't know.
that to be fair, and also, I mean, this next batch of experience, Vitus is going to have 5 resources, so he's going to be maxed out. Also, I want to ask Gandhi a big question, but we'll get to that later.
okay.
Mhm.
Then we'll start with the character, recap. Just standard.
Mm-hmm.
Drew. How is Drew doing?
He kind of feels like he failed a bit because of not really getting across to the guy who was despairing that it's worth it. As with his unique perspective about life and death and the value of each and the importance of each, he was trying to get across, like, you're alive, it's good, and you need to make the most of it, and it didn't really get through. But at the same time, he is keeping somebody alive, which is very, it's important to him. So, he's still in his element, and he's still doing what he needs to be doing.
How are you doing as a player? Feeling
Game is great. I'm ridiculously tired. I had like 3 hours of sleep last night.
fair enough.
But it's no, it's good. I'm eager to to get back together with the rest of the group and figure out where we're gonna go from there. Hey, don't claw me. You're cute as hell, but don't claw me. You were muted, Wiv, by the way.
I wasn't muted, I was mouthing.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying here. I'm trying to do the Lord's work. I'm trying.
And to be fair, like if Drew was not like attached to somebody who was dying, he could be a little bit more proactive about getting back together with everybody too. But he's, what he needs to do is keeping this dude alive. So he's at their mercy at the moment.
I mean, mechanically, he is alive at this point. He's got enough first aid that he's not bleeding out. He's not going to die.
That
just looks
kind
like
of
he's going to die.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that wasn't like he doesn't really have. He has really rudimentary medical skills. So, like, knowing that he'll be fine if I end this ceremony now wasn't really like. Drew didn't know that.
Okay. How's Kalmir doing?
So many new things. Followed the fire thing. Didn't know what that was, but it was really old. And then he found a brand new creation that ran away as soon as it had the chance. So yeah, met a new person, doesn't know his name yet. He's curious as to what the plan is to get everybody together, how that's going to work.
Olus is still working on that himself.
He hasn't noticed that Cherry is injured yet, probably because her leg is on the other side of the motorcycle. I assume.
And Cherry does not show not show anything on her face ever.
She still got her stoic. Otherwise,
no, stoic broke. It's just she's still a very non-emotive person.
So he's a little concerned about this new creature that just decided to run off into the forest. It'll probably get lost, either in the forest in general, or into the border marches. It won't last long in the border marches. It'll get hunted pretty quickly. Interesting that it couldn't do much with its soul. And your face is locked up, Gandhi.
Oh, okay, I should be back.
There he goes, yeah.
Am I back? Okay. How are you doing as a player? Thoughts about the campaign so far?
It's really interesting so far. All these different splats coming together, seeing how different things interact. Like, how does weather magic affect the firestorm from Promethean?
Thank God the fucking... Thank God the fucking Player's Guide to the Contagion Chronicle came out.
Yeah, I don't have that. I haven't read that, so we'll see.
It's helpful.
I posted it.
But it's also half of the book is just like, okay, here's what we think, but house rule it.
That's pretty much what it says in the Mage book. Yeah, how does this relate? I don't know. You make it up.
I ain't getting paid to do that.
There's plenty of useful stuff in there, though.
Bit of useful
stuff. Oh yeah, I'm sure there is probably some different insights into how they could interact. So I'll look at that later. But for now, yeah, it's really interesting to see how everything is interacting. And I'm personally curious as to how we're all going to ride on the motorcycle to get to Drew.
You're not.
You're not. Yeah.
I assume so.
I gotta pull something out of my ass.
I'm assuming Kalmir's just gonna fly or something.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, how high is his drive? Fucking Tullus?
Bolus, once again, please watch the language. And
I'm
his
sorry.
drive,
I'm sorry.
his drive is 0. That's why I was like, please don't make me make a drive check. Like, please don't.
I wanted him.
Nobody ever takes drive.
I have a point in drive. And a specialty
Yeah, but you
that
also
will
have a
never
busted
be
leg.
used.
You can't drive. I feel bad about the called shot, but that was what I mean. Subdue person, you know. Like,
That's a fair shot to take. If you don't want to kill him, you just want to keep him from getting away. A shot to the leg is a fair shot.
but moving on. How's Sherry feeling?
Cherry's feeling a lot right now. Oh, more emotions are sort of coming to the surface now. She's still very worried about Rose, but she's trying to keep in mind that, you know, that presumably Stahl is a better defense. That one, she's a capable person on her own, and two, Stahl is a pretty capable person to defend, and she's also still in pain. She's trying to process why Vitus wants to get everyone together. Trying to process why he wants that. Because she's aware at this point now that every single other person that he's getting is supernatural in some way. Hey, besides Rose. She knows that she knows because at this point she's put together that Stahl is a Promethean. She's put together that pretty much the only person she doesn't know that is a supernatural is, you know, Vitus and Tullus? I keep forgetting.
Bolus, yes.
I'm sorry. Also, I'm sorry that I curse a lot. I tend to use filler words. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, it took me a little bit to, you know, stop doing that when I was in a voice chat with him.
It's appreciated.
By both me and Pooter.
Yeah, trying to think. Cherry right now, yeah, is kind of just curious about things at this point. Oington also very much worried and also worried about people, and she's also worried about the Promethean that ran off, because she's like I would feel a bit bad if he just ended up getting messed up by Chiron, but I don't really know what else to do right now besides because that might cause me more problems.
Just a scapegoat for Stahl now.
Yeah, she feels bad about that. She doesn't know what to do about it, but she feels bad about it. And at this point, she's just sort of confused why everyone's being put together, I guess, as in worried about Rose, I guess. Besides that, I suppose I should go into how I'm feeling then.
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I like the session. I like people being able to people playing around, I guess. I like the experience, and it's this is an idle thought. This is probably not really relevant, and I've been thinking about. No, that's probably a later thing to talk about. In general, I like the session. Nothing particularly bad was happening. You know, not that nothing particularly bad. I more mean just it was fun. You know, I like being able to interact with people and being able to interact and being able to talk with people as my character, and also, you know, I don't know. Got to see Cherry be a doormat.
How is Tullus doing?
He has a massive headache.
Understandable at this point.
Like, supernatural stuff, obviously he's aware it exists, but honestly, he doesn't care. So whenever somebody starts talking about the supernatural stuff, he's just like, okay, yeah, sure, that means I have to put an extra bullet in them. Okay, I get it. It's not. He doesn't have any love for the other supernaturals, nor does he care. And very much like Spencer was saying, he has no idea how he's gonna get these people together, and he has no idea why he's doing it. His dad is the one that's in control of the power, so he just follows orders.
Yeah, both of them just like, what? Why? Cherry in a curious way, and Tall is probably just in a, what the fuck am I doing way?
And like, this is my dad. Like, this is
I got woken up at 1 a.m. to do this.
yeah.
To get like five, how many people? Like five, yeah. 5 people together for no sensible reason.
Yeah, he's got a headache. This whole adventure's given him a headache.
Sorry, I guess it was 4 because Stahl was already with you.
Well, he had to go find Stahl too.
Yeah.
How is Wyverian?
I'm doing okay. I'm still piecing together certain things, still trying to get party dynamics down, and I know when Vitus comes back, things are gonna get really wonky again, and then the next day, I'm gonna roll 1d2, and if it turns up to be the 2, it's gonna be the sister showing up for the day shift, so to speak, which is gonna, once again, me feeling out party dynamics.
Party dynamics? You mean we have to be in a party for that?
Exactly.
I'm doing the Lord's work here. Gandhi has not asked me to do that or anything. This is something I'm doing on my own.
Yeah.
I am attempting to do this on my own.
I realize now in hindsight, I should have given another event to try to push everybody together again after they ran from the hunters at the dam.
It's fine now. It's
but
fine
it was
now. You
also,
have a...
like, people needed to sleep.
And yet nobody has slept except for Vitus, who's getting his lovely 12 hours of sleep in.
Look, I do have a plan for where to sleep now that I've been shot in the leg.
The hospital.
Yes. Look. Yes.
Which...
Yeah, contagion is weird.
Mm-hmm.
To shove a bunch of different supernaturals together and say work together. Because at the moment, you don't really have a
common goal.
Yeah, a common goal.
And realistically, Tullus is just probably thinking that Vitus just wants everybody together for some sort of power play, so he's just kind of like, my dad's being a politician.
So I know you're wondering why I gathered you here today. I have no reason. Dismissed.
Fair enough. Go do.
Okay, so final questions, comments, concerns, topics of discussion.
So, I have a question.
Go ahead.
I'm getting ready to put my final dot into resources. I'll have 5 resources. Can I take a merit from the Sears book in 1st edition?
I don't know what that book is.
It talks about specifically Sears of the Throne, and they have a merit called Luxury.
That one.
It's a 2-dot merit. Basically...
What's it do?
The 2-dot version, basically, at every single helipad, I can have a private helicopter/jet pick me up to take me to my restaurant appointment, to my hair appointment, to the bank so I can, buy out that bank.
You got a helipad?
Well, no, it's not necessarily the helipad. It's the fact that that's how much money the character has. Is that they could literally have a helicopter take them to all their appointments.
I don't even...
Give me a moment to think about that, not just right now, because
Okay.
realistically, money is not going to solve the problem here. It'll get you close.
But I'm still taking my... I just don't know what I'm doing with those other 2 experience for right this moment. If I am allowed to take the luxury merit, I'm taking both dots of it. And then I'll pay Stahl whatever he wants. I'll buy him a penthouse. Actually, no. The merit says specifically I can't do stuff like that technically. But that's the lore. That's supposedly the lore behind the merit. Any questions from anybody else?
This is more just a thought, but I feel like Deviant was not designed for a very quick experience gain while having very few actual chapters.
Probably not, no. And none of the systems were designed. They were designed with beats in mind, and I don't feel like doing beats because I'm lazy.
Fair enough, I guess.
We're winging many things here today. The very fact that this is Contagion crossover, we're winging it. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's gonna go.
The wing of many things.
I mean, if nothing else, that means next session I will take my 3rd dot of blood potency for Vitus.
Woohoo! Moving on up.
So what happens when you spend so much blood